Imagine walking into a quiet art gallery in Bangkok and discovering an exhibition that many tourists never hear about. Some visitors call it beautiful, others call it controversial. So why does Thailand allow these nude art spaces, and why do they remain surprisingly hidden from mainstream travel guides? The answer reveals a fascinating clash between tradition, modern art, and human psychology. And by the end of this video, you may see Thailand very differently. So, what exactly are these nude art spaces? They are not monolithic. They take on several forms, each with a distinct purpose, yet all sharing a common foundation in artistic practice. The most common is the life drawing studio, like the one in Bangkok. These are often informal, community-run sessions where artists of all levels can pay a small fee to practice their skills. The fee typically covers the cost of the space, and most importantly, provides fair payment to the model for their time and professionalism. Here the focus is purely on education and practice, a place for artists to hone their craft without judgment or pressure. Beyond the informal studio, there are more structured environments. A third type of space is the commercial art gallery. In all these spaces, a strict code of conduct is paramount. The quiet work happening in these studios exists within a deeply complex cultural landscape. Thailand is a nation of fascinating dualities, ancient traditions, hyper-modernity. On one hand, a rich history of art celebrating the human form, ancient temple carvings, classical literature. On the other, a largely conservative modern culture guided by Buddhist principles, emphasizing modesty. This inherent tension breeds controversy. Police have been known to visit galleries exhibiting nude art, anonymous complaints from the public, online outrage. Gallery owners can face fines under public decency laws. Exhibitions can be forcibly shut down. The result? Self-censorship. Commercialized nudity blurs with art in public perception. For some, nudity equals sex tourism, masking the artistic and academic value of life drawing. This struggle for legitimacy is constant and exhausting. From the studio, to understand the heart of this world, you have to listen to the people inside it. An artist I spoke with, a young painter named Anong, works from a small, cluttered studio filled with canvases and the smell of turpentine. For me, it is not about seeing a naked person, she explains, her hands smudged with paint. It is about seeing the truth. The body tells a story without words. It shows struggle, it shows grace, it shows the simple fact of being human. When I draw from a live model, I am learning the language of that story. The controversy outside feels very far away from this process. Later we meet the woman behind today's sketch. Her story may change how you see this art. A different view comes from the person on the platform. I met with a model who works regularly at several studios. The intersection of art and law in Thailand is a notoriously murky territory, a complex landscape where creative freedom constantly negotiates with deeply held social norms. For artists and gallerists working with the human form, this ambiguity presents a significant, ever-present challenge. The primary legal instrument that comes into play is Section 287 of the Thai Criminal Code. In simple terms, this law is designed to regulate public morality by addressing what it defines as obscenity. The statute broadly prohibits the production, distribution, or public exhibition of any object or writing that is obscene. However, the code does not provide a clear, objective definition of what constitutes obscenity, leaving a critical gap in legal interpretation. This means the decision of whether a piece of art crosses the line is often left to the subjective interpretation of police officers, public prosecutors, and ultimately, judges. I consulted with a lawyer in Bangkok who specializes in intellectual property and freedom of expression to better understand this precarious balance. The law has an exception for works that are literary or artistic in nature, she explained. But this exception is just as vague as the definition of obscenity itself. There is no formal test for artistic merit. The court might consider the artist's intent, the context of the exhibition, and expert testimony, but these factors are not guaranteed to provide protection. This legal gray area means that exhibiting nude art always carries a degree of risk, regardless of its artistic intent or acclaim. This legal uncertainty forces galleries to adopt a range of defensive strategies, from curating cautiously to preparing extensive documentation justifying a work's artistic value, hoping it will be enough. The debate isn't confined to academic circles or legal chambers. It echoes through bustling markets, quiet university campuses, and serene temple grounds. To truly grasp the issue, you must move beyond the studio and the courtroom and listen to the everyday voices that form the city's vibrant, complex soul. In the heart of a modern commercial district, I spoke with a university student taking a break from her studies outside a popular shopping mall.
I think it's art. I've seen photos of old European paintings in books, the Renaissance masters. It's the same thing, right? A study of the human form. As long as it's in a gallery and not on a public billboard, I don't see the problem. People can choose if they want to see it or not. It's about context and personal choice.
A different perspective came from a street food vendor, a woman in her late 50s who has worked at the same spot for over 30 years, witnessing the city change around her.
It is not our way. Our culture, the way I was raised, teaches us to be modest. The body is private, something to be respected and kept from public view. To show it like that, even for art, it feels wrong. It feels disrespectful to our ancestors. We have so much beauty in our own traditions, in our temples and our dances. Why do we need to copy this Western idea?
Not everyone holds such a firm view. In a nearby park, a mother of two offered a more conflicted perspective, reflecting the nuance many people feel.
Honestly, I'm not sure what to think. On one hand, I understand art and expression, but as a parent, I worry. Is it appropriate for children? Where do you draw the line? It's a difficult question.
Near a local temple, a man who regularly makes merit explained his view through the lens of his Buddhist faith.
The body is impermanent. It is a source of attachment and suffering. To focus on it, to display it, can increase that attachment, which leads us away from enlightenment. The path to wisdom is to look beyond the physical form, not to celebrate it in this way.
These varied voices, from the progressive student to the conflicted parent and the devout traditionalist, show that there is no single public opinion on the matter. Each viewpoint is a complex tapestry shaped by age, education, faith, and personal experience. The quiet art spaces are caught in the middle of this cultural conversation, trying to carve out a space for expression while respecting the deeply held beliefs of their neighbors. As the day ends, a profound quiet settles over the studio. The intense focus of the session has dissipated, leaving behind a sense of calm reflection. The session is over. The model, the central figure of the day's study, has dressed and gone home, their presence now just an echo in the empty space. The artists, too, are beginning to disperse. They pack up their supplies, charcoal, pastels, and paper, some quietly comparing their sketches, sharing insights in hushed tones. On one abandoned easel sits an unfinished drawing. It's a collection of lines and shadows, a ghost of the form that was there just moments before. Here, a shoulder is defined. There, a hand is merely suggested. It is not a finished statement, but a question captured on paper. This incomplete sketch feels like a fitting metaphor for the entire conversation. A work in progress, beautiful in its potential, yet unresolved. The scene is not one of tension or conflict, but one of quiet potential and lingering questions. The stories we've heard from the artist, the model, the gallery owner, and the lawyer all point to a delicate, ongoing search for balance. It is a search for a way to honor artistic freedom while respecting deeply held cultural and religious sensitivities. It is about protecting the dignity and safety of models while allowing artists the essential space to study the human form and create. It is about navigating ambiguous laws while fostering a vibrant, expressive cultural scene that can grow and evolve. The issues explored here are complex, touching on sensitive themes of art, body, and belief. As we look at this unfinished sketch one last time, we are left to wonder, in a world of diverse and deeply held convictions, where is the proper place for a simple, honest line?